This thing that you are seeing on the screen right now is nothing but official NetNN's video, including its latest features. Do you also want to simulate these network simulations, animations, but you are struggling with the installation of the NS3 and still getting errors and not finding a way to work out? You have tried seeing documentations but struggling with like which document to look for, as all of its releases have separate installation guides, and you are left with nothing but some unknown errors which you can't solve. So in this video, let's see the best way to install NS3 and get started with it. So let's just head over to browser and download the ISO file of the Ubuntu Linux. You just need to type download Ubuntu, and first link should be the official Ubuntu Linux site from where you can get any release of the Ubuntu Linux. But I suggest you should download the latest release of LTE type. So basically that's the long term support type. Or you can just go ahead and browse and install any LTS type that you want. Here I have already Ubuntu Linux 22 LTS, so I won't download it again. Now that you have your ISO file of Ubuntu Linux, it's the time to get what you can say it's running. For that, I assume that you have already VMware installed, and now from here you can just click new virtual machine from the home page. Click on typical installation and proceed with the settings that you want. Just one recommended setting is that you must choose single virtual disk when it comes to storage type, and the rest other settings that you can basically customize according to your need and your machine's configurations. Now, there will be some basic setup of your system when you run your virtual machine for the first time, which is obviously not that hard, and I assume that you are capable of doing it on your own. Here, I have my virtual machine already created, so I will start that. I basically won't bother to install another virtual machine. And now, there are three main ways when it comes to installation of the NS3, and we'll just see that how we can install the NS3 in this video, because there are two separate things. One is to install the NS3 and another is to build the NS3, and those two are like two different things. And in this video we'll talk about the basically the NS3 installation, or basically what you can say download the how to download the NS3. Now there are lots of documentations for installation that comes with the each releases of the NS3, but we'll follow this link where if you see here you will find three different ways listed for the installation of NS3, and the first one is using tarball. Now tarball means archive, what you can say something called archive files or zipped files, whatever you want to call it basically, right? So basically with every new release of the NS3 you have its archived version available at its what obviously the official website, which also includes the compatible netname installed with it, right? So what you can do is just download that file, that archive file, and then after it is downloaded you can just unzip it in your machine and you're good to go with NS3 build. But one thing is to note that it is very minimalistic installation of the NS3, which is good for if like if you want to install the NS3 apps, if you don't want to install any NS3 apps from the web store and you just want to experiment with how to learn NS3, how to get started with it. So basically, for those persons, that's the best way to install and get started. It's the very quickest way, but it's not the scalable. Having said that, let's just move on to the next way, which is using Git. Now, If you're familiar with the Git and GitHub, then you must be aware about the organizations on the GitHub. So NS3 is one of the repository inside NS organization. So on GitHub basically, and the same way it is there on the GitLab also. Now, whenever they have new release of NS3, they issue it on the GitHub and GitLab as well, which you can see inside releases tabs, or you can use the tags also. So what you can do is you can just clone the release that you want to work with, but keeping track of, let's say, dependencies and all that stuff is not someone might like to do on its own. So what they have did is they made one Python file, and using which we can just provide the release name like the tag value, and it will clone the respective releases branch into your local machine, and you can start working on it. So this particular way of installation is the best for someone who is expert in NS3 and wants to make some contributions to the actual NS3. So that's the way that how you can work with NS3 using Git. Now let's move on to the best way of installing NS3, which is using Bake tool. So if I can give you a brief overview of what Bake is. So basically Bake, that is one file that keep track of dependencies and releases of the NS3. For every new release of NS3, they have new release of Bake file. So whenever there is a release of NS3, which is a there will be that release will be in the new Bake file. So again, this thing is useful to someone who wants to explore NS3 in details, like, and want to experiment with the various NS3 apps from the App Store of the NS3. And I personally suggest what you can say using this way to install the NS3. So there will be no consequences, or you can say there will be no later on if you want to install something, if you want to do something on top of NS3, that will be easy for you. So there is an entire document on this, but we'll not go on to documentation, and we'll go step by step. So which is to have the first step, which is to have Bake file in your system, and that you can get by cloning latest repository of Bake from NS organization. So Bake is a file which keeps track of latest releases of NS3 and respective dependencies. So after cloning it, you can just go and configure it to install any releases that you want using this command followed by the release name. Afterwards, you can just download using this command, and after it is downloaded, to finally verify that everything is installed or not and fine or not, you can just give this command. And now you'll have the NS3, the desired NS3 release inside the source directory. Now you have learned all the different ways to install the NS3, and that is it for this video. In the next video, we'll see that how you can build NS3, how you can install NetAnim, and best practices to work with NS3 and NetAnim obviously to ease your work. We'll meet in the next video. Till then, keep learning and keep exploring.